Well, I tell you, it has just been a delight to work with Laura and to get to know Elle, and I even got to have Laura's mom in on the whole deal, so it's just been kind of a family affair. Again, thank you for being here tonight. How many of you have heard me speak before about money? If you could just raise your hands. A lot of you. What I'm going to ask of you tonight is if you listen as if it's the first time you've heard me. Because so many times when we hear someone that we've heard before, oh, I know what she's going to say. But I'm going to ask you to listen as if you haven't ever heard me speak before. My passion is working with women. Why? I'm a certified family business specialist. I got my master's at the American College to work in family business. But I'm passionate about working with women. And someone asked me why one time, and I said, because it's really simple. We're always the last to know. Here's the deal. I want you to be the first to know. The second question I have for you is how many of you currently have a financial planner? A lot of you. My next question is, with that financial planner, how many of you are pleased with what it is they're doing for you? And my next question about that is, how do you know? How do you know what they're doing is right for you? How has it been verified? It may be news to you that there are 27 places that you can put your money. And I don't care if your name is Annie Groth. I don't care if your name is Warren Buffett. I don't care if your name is Jill Mapstead. There are 27 places that you can put your money. And when you typically go see a financial planner, they'll look at maybe 2 to 4 places and say, oh, you're good. And I would challenge that, because what they're really missing, if they're not looking at your life holistically, is what they're missing is the inefficiency of what you're doing. And what I'm really interested in is the efficiency of your money. But more than that, what I'm really interested in is to make sure that you know, and you know, and you know what you're doing with your money. Not what your partner's doing, not what your husband's doing, not what your boyfriend's doing, not what your dad told you. I want you to know what you're doing. Especially you young women. You really need to get off on the right foot. And I'm just going to break just for a minute. Maybe I'll save it. But it's really important that you as young women know. Why is it important, and why am I so passionate about this? I could tell you story after story after story about things that have happened to people who have come to see me, who didn't take action, who might have taken action, and then something happened. So in those 27 places that you can put your money, those 27 places are broken into 3 distinct components: protection, savings, and growth. Everybody wants to be in the growth component, but what happens if we have an uh-oh in the market? What happens, not if, but when 2008 and 9 happen again? Because they will. And if you haven't taken the proper steps to protect what you've built, you could have a really big uh-oh. So just to give you some context, the market fell by 42% in 2009. So we'll just say 50% just to make the math easy. So if you had $10,000 or $100,000 or $1 million in a stock account, chances are you now have $500,000. It's not a very good place to be, is it? Because it takes a long time to get that back. Some of us have time, some of us don't. But it's kind of like being in Las Vegas. Just because you're on the other side of the table and you say, oh, it's the house's money, the minute you win it, it's your money. And that's how we need to treat our money, is that it's our money and it needs to stay in our pocket. Savings is a good thing, but where are you saving? Are you saving in the most efficient place possible? I know we have some accountants in here tonight, and I'll ask them to, they can, agree with me or not agree with me. How many of you think you'll be in a lower income tax bracket when you retire? Some of you. My response to that is, why would you want to be? Right? You've worked hard your entire life and now you want to be in a lower tax bracket so that you make less money? My contention is that we will be in a higher tax bracket when we retire. And so many people are putting away money in 401ks, IRAs, but guess what? When you start taking that money out, it will be taxed at ordinary income. Shouldn't you begin a strategy how to maybe negate some of those taxes during retirement? Now I'm going to go to where my heart is, which is the protection component. How many of you have disability income protection? How many of you have group disability income protection through your job? Do you know how it works? Do you know that if you get too sick or hurt to go to work and your company pays for your benefit, let's just say they pay 60%, you will get 60% of your salary and then it'll be taxed. If you own it individually, your benefit will come to you tax-free. Why is disability income protection important? Some of you have heard this story, I think. A young woman came to see me not too long ago, right before I went to Spain last year. And we went through the process to get her disability income protection. She is 42 years old, healthy. She's a therapist. She was healthy. She teaches yoga part-time because she loves it. And so when I got back from Spain, I reached out to a friend of hers. Well, let me back up. She met with another advisor who said to her, and I quote, "Oh, you don't need disability income protection. You're young, you're healthy." So she contacted me and she said, "Annie, I'm not going to do that." And so when I got back from Spain, I contacted a friend of hers and I said, "How was your trip to Thailand?" Because they were going to go to Thailand together. She said, "Oh, we didn't get to go." And I said, "Why not?" Jennifer had to have open heart surgery. She was sitting in her office one day, she had a tear in her aorta. The only reason she didn't bleed out is because it leaned up against her esophagus and coagulated the blood. They had to airlift her to Phoenix, do open heart surgery. Guess what? She's uninsurable for the rest of her life. And the problem is, and when we're young especially, is we think it'll never happen to me. Right? We think it'll never happen to me. So disability income protection is really important. And for some of you young women, how many of you, when you get older, would like to have your mom and dad as your roommate? Oh look, no hands went up. Elle wants her mom as a roommate. Of course she does. The reason I asked that question is the next thing that a lot of women are ignoring is long-term care. Why? If you're married, trust me when I tell you, you are his long-term care plan, right? Who's yours? Who's going to take care of you? Today, in the city of Phoenix, for a private long-term care room, the cost is $240 a day. Do you think that's going to go up or down? Right? So why wouldn't you share some of the risk with an insurance company and insure that for pennies on the dollar when or if you need it? The last one I'll talk to you about is the one that I think is most important, and that's life insurance. And many people think that, oh, I don't need life insurance, I'm single. Oh, I've got enough, I've got term life insurance at work. Oh, I've got term life insurance on my own. Most people, I would say, probably have a 20-year term policy. How many of you in this room are interested in being dead in 20 years? Probably not very many people, right? But if you have a 20-year term policy and you live 20 years and one day, guess what? You have thrown away boatloads of cash because you didn't die on time, right? But insurance companies count on that. It's a cash cow. Now, term life insurance has its place. It always has its place, but do you know how it works? How many of you have life insurance through work? Right? When you leave work, most of you don't get to take that life insurance with you. Then what? What if somebody you know or love, your husband, your partner, what if they become, or you become, uninsurable? What if you don't have enough? What if you don't have your human life value? What if? So I'll tell you why that's important to me. I'll tell you a couple of stories. Years ago, I had this couple with whom I worked out of Dallas, Texas. They were in their mid-40s, and I had life insurance applications in my drawer for both of them for $1 million. And I was waiting on a check from them to bind it. And what that means is if they send me a check and something happens to them in between the time they pay for it and they get it approved, if something happens, the life insurance company will do their underwriting and they'll send them $1 million check. So I called them and we're sending it. I didn't get the check, and so after the holiday, I called Brenda's office, and her assistant answered the phone, and I said, "Hi, this is Annie Groth. May I speak to Brenda?" "She's not here. There was a family emergency." And I said, "Oh, did her daddy die?" And she said, "Yes, and her husband too. 45 years old, dropped dead on the driveway on Christmas Eve. He had an aneurysm." And she said, "Don't worry, Annie. Kyle took to heart what you said, and he got $800,000 additional life insurance through work." She called me in 2 weeks, devastated. The new life insurance didn't take effect until January 1st. Her 2 college children left college, and she remarried within less than a year. Does she love him? I don't know. I hope so. Or was it dependent, right? Yeah, exactly. It's funny and sad. But what most people don't understand is if you own the right kind of cash value life insurance, you can use it for college funding. I used one of my life insurance policies years ago. I bought my Lexus SC 430 Sports Coupe. I took the money out of my life insurance policy, bought my car, and then paid it back. Who would I rather pay back, the bank or me? My other story that I always like to share with people and to really bring a point home, and it's really more for me than it is for you. How many of you know Gabby Giffords or know who she is? Gabby Giffords and I met in 2004 when I won a charity auction to spend 3 hours with a legislator. And I went down and met Gabby, and we spent the entire day together. We just fell in like with each other. Started hanging out, started doing things. As a matter of fact, I was the 3rd person she called. I was driving across western Kansas with my mother to tell me that Mark had asked her to marry him. Right? Really sweet. My sister was here visiting on a January morning, and Carrie and I went to see a movie. And we came home, and I was catching up on some laundry, and as I walked into the family room, at that very moment, I looked on the TV and I said, "Oh, why is Gabby on TV?" And at that very moment is when they announced Gabby Giffords had died. Right? I turned on my telephone, it lit up like a Christmas tree, texts, calls, telling me that Gabby had been shot. Not once in the years that I knew Gabby Giffords did I ask her once, did she have disability income protection or did she have life insurance? Not once. And now my beloved friend is uninsurable for the rest of her life. That's why I have passion with what I do, not just because of Gabby. And ladies, I'm telling you, if you think you've heard it before, if you think you know all the answers, trust me, you don't. Take the time to get educated properly. Come see me. I invite you to come see me. Call me for a cup of coffee. And here's the really great news. I don't charge fees. I decided a long time ago when I started my practice 17 years ago that I didn't need to be paid twice. So if you want to, at the end of the evening, you can talk to Robin and Liz and Natasha in the back of the room, and they will get your name and number, and I will be more than happy to call you. Again, I'm glad that you're all here, and if you're not saving money, start today. And I don't care if it's $1 or $100 a week or $1,000 a week. I'll tell you one more story, and then I'll quit, Jill. One more story. So how much money should we save? Traditional people will tell you should save 15% of your gross wages. Why 15%? 3% for planned obsolescence. We know our tires are going to wear out. You know, our roof is going to wear out. Technological change. My computer's a year old, it's obsolete, right? Standard of living. We should make sure that we plan for that. Taxation and inflation. Inflation is a stealth tax and it gets all of us. So the minimum you should be saving is 15% of your gross wages. George Clason wrote a classic book back in the 40s called The Richest Man in Babylon. He says you should save 30% of what you earn, which is what I save. And I have a friend who told me a long time ago, she's a self-made millionaire. She told me a long time ago, she said, I didn't do anything special. I just saved 50% of everything I ever earned. So somewhere between 15 and 100% is where you ought to be. And again, thank you so much for being here.